Hid for a few weeks before it came to me. I had to choose my heart, heal and get free. She said life's easy, pain comes with living. Surround myself with everything God's given. It's time to change my routine, create a new scene that feels like an unreachable dream.
Good Friday morning, everyone. This is the last Friday in July. Time is moving fast. I'm excited to announce that today marks our 10th episode. I want to thank you all for watching, for sharing, providing feedback, and just sitting with me all together. I'm happy to know we are all taking our mental health seriously. With that being said, this is Mentally How Are You? And I am your host, Neena Lock, here to discuss all things mental healing. Moving forward, our Mentally How Are You emails have been coming in, and I love that everyone is engaging. I really do. Recently, I have received many emails regarding questions about, you guessed it, medications. Rather than answer each email one by one, I decided to complete an episode on medications, to take or not to take. Let's discuss what psych meds are, the need for them, what they do, side effects, and their benefits. Psychiatric medications or psychotropic medications, depending on which area you were introduced into the world of psychology, are prescribed to treat mental health conditions or disorders. The way they work is by affecting neurotransmitters in the brain to alleviate symptoms one may be struggling with for a prolonged period of time. Some common neurotransmitters in the brain discussed in therapy are serotonin and dopamine. I'm sure we're all familiar with hearing those terms by now. Serotonin is involved in functions like mood regulation, sleep, appetite, or digestion. Dopamine is involved in functions like motivation, movement, attention, and focus. So depending on someone's diagnosis or need, psych meds either increase or decrease these levels of neurotransmitters to help regulate our mood, emotions, and thought patterns. To speak boldly to you guys, they're pills that you take that will go through your bloodstream to relieve you from mental health symptoms related to a diagnosis, such as racing thoughts, persistent low moods, or an abnormal inability to focus. Because these symptoms range and feel different from person to person, there are different types of psychiatric medications for different reasons. By example, I'll explain that there are some that are titled antidepressants. The name, of course, gives it away, but I'll let you know that antidepressants help decrease any depressive symptoms or moods or feelings, right? So they work on those neurotransmitters where you're unmotivated, where you can't get up, you can't move. Maybe you're feeling very low for a very long time. You're in and out of crying spells, as they say. And you know that you're not regulated and you're not yourself. An antidepressant may help with something like that. Another is an anti-anxiety. This, of course, helps with decreasing your anxiety. Those of us who have racing thoughts, who feel overwhelmed consistently, you may have trouble sleeping because of the inability to stop thinking about everything that's going on in the world, in your family, at your workplace, and everything makes you nervous and you're on high alert, and it interrupts your ability to focus, function, or to move forward with your daily task or goals. Anti-anxiety medications will help decrease these symptoms. Another example is a mood stabilizer. Mood stabilizers help normally anybody who's struggling with a diagnosis like bipolar disorder. This is where you can't stay consistent. You can't keep your mood regulated. 1 minute you're extremely excited, hyper, happy, joyous. You have every thought and every idea in the world, and along with those thoughts, you also think that you can complete every task possible. I mean, you can go to the moon and back, right? And then the next day or a day or two later, you may feel like what I described for depression, where you're low mood, your spirit is, disengaged, you're unable to do the things that you normally would be able to do, and you also don't have a motivation, want, or need to engage. And you go between these highs and lows nonstop. A mood stabilizer will do exactly what it's called. It will stabilize your mood so that you stay consistent and you're able to complete life's tasks, you're able to engage in life and have fun. So antidepressants, anti-anxiety, or mood stabilizers are just a couple that I wanted to name. Medications are prescribed not just by diagnoses and symptoms, but also by our weight, our age, your entire makeup, and also dosage, right? So your prescriber will go by what amount you need according to your age, your weight, and also if you have any other existing conditions. So let's say you are diabetic, but you also struggle with anxiety. Your prescriber will be sure to take that into account before giving you a medication to help alleviate these symptoms. Now, normally medications are introduced when someone feels they can no longer manage symptoms of a disorder on their own or with the skills they have learned in active therapy. Notice that I said active therapy. You should be in therapy and trying the activities that you're given from a counselor or a therapist before saying, I just absolutely need medications, right? Like, therapy needs to be activated and you have to be engaged where you can give a timeline of, I've tried this for 6 months and it just has not worked, right? I know a lot of times growing up, I heard the term microwave society so much that it irritated me. But if only my grandparents could see what we're living in now. This is more microwavable than anything I've ever witnessed. So we will have a counselor or a therapist give us activities or assignments to engage in, and we may try it for 1 day, 2 days, some of us maybe even a week, right? But you still weren't consistent with it. You didn't see it through, and we'll give up after that short time instead of keeping through with the work that has to be done. Therapy is work. It's not just you sitting in a chair and talking with somebody and then they give you all the answers. You have work that you have to do because it is your life and it's you taking control of your life. So active therapy is normally needed. After you have been active in therapy, then a prescriber may say that you need some further assistance. There are matters in which someone may experience a crisis and medications are required to help relieve stronger symptoms such as hallucinations or dissociating. The key points to remember about medications would be the following, is that you may have to go through a trial and error process. This can be frustrating at times, but remember, you are trying to find the right medication to help alleviate the symptoms that you are experiencing. And every medication is not for everybody. Every medication dosage won't work for everybody. It has to be adjusted to you and to your makeup. So trial and error is a part of the process. You may experience side effects like weight gain, weight loss, feeling fatigued, or even a dry mouth. And it would be best for you to follow through with the monitoring of your psychiatrist, right? This is needed, absolutely. I know that we think we can just get the medication and then move on and do what we want to do, but it's better for you to be monitored by a medical professional so that they can make any adjustments that may need to be made, or at least understand the adjustments you want to make and help you through the process to make sure it's done safely. Lastly, you do not have to take medications. I received a lot of emails about, if I do therapy, do I have to take medications? You do not have to take medications. There are absolutely natural routes, such as changing your diet and adding supplements that your brain and your body could be missing and need, right? So the routes, such as changing your diet, that portion right there is probably the number one goal and thing that will affect your mental health. When you change your diet up, you will see that so much will be clearer. So much will come to your understanding, and you'll be able to get to the task that a therapist provides to you, or you'll be able to just complete tasks or things that you want to do for yourself if you change up your diet. Our gut health is directly connected to our mental health, so what we eat is literally what we become, even in a negative way. Changing up your diet, adding supplements, like I said, that your brain and your body could be missing are a need, and that could be a way to go instead of going with medications. Now, some examples would be someone trying to manage anxiety or depression. They may need more vitamin D3, let's say magnesium, vitamin C, or even K12. And I want you guys to know that you can also speak with your psychiatrist about these options. You can talk to a psychiatrist about supplements and not just medications. You can see one for these reasons. In fact, if you're seeing a really good one, they're probably already providing you with some supplements as well as the medications that you're taking. Or you can speak with a dietitian about your food intake, what you need and what you should be adjusting. The biggest factor, I believe, is that individuals struggle when it comes to taking mental health medications is because we treat these meds different from medical medications, or we apply harsh judgments on ourselves if we have a need to take these medications. It's important to note that medications are just one part of treatment. In fact, they are most effective when combined with counseling, so not just standing alone. I just want everyone to please remember we can't shame ourselves into change. We can only love ourselves into evolution. So if you need to take medications, if this is a requirement in your medical journey, then I would say not to be so forcing on yourself the shame of, oh, now I need meds. That's not an issue. You wouldn't say the same thing if you, like I said, were a diabetic and you need insulin. You would want to take the insulin. And then if you wanted to go a natural route, you would also find ways to travel through that natural route to make sure that you were okay. But the bottom line is that medications are a portion of the mental health makeup. It's not an actual need all the time, but if you do require them, go ahead and take them and do it in a safe way. Now let's bust up some myths about medications. One that I've heard, and these are again from the emails, is that you'll be on medication forever. This is not true. You can choose to no longer take medications, but you should do it in a safe manner. Allow your prescriber to wean you off and have a conversation with your counselor to plan for what your body and your mind will experience with tapering off, as well as what coping mechanisms and routine to implement in your daily life to match the change, okay? But you can absolutely stop medications if you'd like. 2 is that they'll turn you into a zombie. I chuckle at this phrase because I know what people mean when they say zombie, and I don't like that we use that term, but I can't stop everyone from saying it. I will say that this should not be a side effect. However, if you believe you're experiencing this, or if someone around you appears numb and disconnected, which is what we mean when we say zombie, you feel numb, you feel disconnected, then schedule an appointment with your provider to review these side effects, because that's not what any psychotropic medication should do. Another one that I've heard is that only weak people take meds. This, again, is false and what I want to strongly dismantle on this episode. This statement is just simply false and is discouraging to many. There is an emotional side to taking medications, whether for your mental health or your physical health. There is an emotional portion to it. So alongside the symptoms someone may already be pushing through comes the emotional side, which includes fear, it can include guilt, and that shame that I was just talking about. It can include shame. With having this additional source of help, it's a struggle for some people, so that thought may come up. We live in a society where if you need help for whatever reason, we've deemed that as weak, and it's probably one of the worst things we could have ever done in this nation. We don't need to think that way. Help is how many people have gotten to where they are. You get some type of support. One of the number one things in therapy that a counselor like myself will ask someone is if they have a support system. And if they don't, we begin to work and plan with them about how to build a support system, how to have alliances, how to maintain, individuals that will be accountability partners, and to have individuals who, if you simply cannot or do not have, they will step in and help you out. That is okay. A helping hand is needed for so many different things, not just our medical or mental health, but especially for these things, right? Like especially for your mental health. We can't function if our mental state is unhealthy. So if you cannot get to where you need to be and you require some assistance or some help, take the extra support. If that help comes in the form of medication, then take the medication. I just told you that you can absolutely get off of meds. So you can let your prescriber know, you know what? I really don't want to be on this for a long time or for the rest of my life. I just feel like I'm in a space where I need some extra support. So I'm going to take medication, but I would like for you to explain to me what is a healthy time frame to take these and where should I be within that time frame. So let's say your prescriber says, okay, you know what, for the next year, we're going to have you take I'll name a medication. What's a med I can name that's safe? We all know Prozac, I feel like. Even if you don't really know it, you know it from movies and TV shows. If your prescriber says you're going to take Prozac for the next year, and for this year, if you're working with your therapist and taking this medication and engaging in other coping mechanisms or strategies, within the year, what I would like to see is that you're able to focus at work, is that you feel relief in areas at home, and you're able to engage in activities that you're needed in with your children or with your family, right? So that your prescriber may give you some goals. You take those goals back to your counselor, let it be known that this is what you want to work on, and in a year you want to get to this mark where you kind of go over your checklist, your pros and your cons, your goals list, and you let them know, okay, I've reached this goal and now I'm able to move forward. Sometimes maybe you don't reach the goal all the way. That's okay. What you would need to do then is just adjust it. We adjust plans all the time. We're in a space currently where we are adjusting a lot, right? With everything that's going on around us. If you need to adjust the plan and your prescriber says, okay, I can decrease the medication by 5 milligrams and you can work on these 3 things that you have left, because maybe you had a list of 10, you completed everything but 3 items. Okay, let's work on that and let's decrease the medication and see how I'm able to handle things with the decrease, with the weaning off. The bottom line is that if you need help in this way, take it. Take it if this is what you need, and you can make a plan to remove it if it's something you just simply don't want to depend on or have to be on forever, okay? The 4th thing I've heard is that medication will change your personality or make you less of yourself. I know many are apprehensive about taking medication because they feel they will be less like themselves. I am trying my best to be very honest with you guys on this show, so I will not lie to you at all. You can feel unlike yourself at times due to the adjustment. But remember, there will be an adjustment period. So speak with your provider about how long this period should or could be, and reach out if your symptoms go past this measurement. With this specific myth, it's a myth, but it's also some truth to it, like I said, right? So because there is a truth to it, I really want you guys to focus on the fact that you're putting something foreign in your body. Like, medication is just that. I don't care what you're taking it for. Like I said, even if it's a medical concern, you're putting something foreign in your body. So of course there's going to be adjustments. Of course you may not feel like yourself initially. The myth comes in where this shouldn't be prolonged. This shouldn't be just now your new normal state where you can't get to you. That's when it's a problem, right? That's when this statement is untrue. So again, following through with your prescriber and your provider and saying, hey, I've been feeling unlike myself for this long. Like, yeah, I may not feel low anymore, but I also don't feel like I can do the things that I would like to do or get to me. Then there may need to be a change. Okay, so that myth is a myth, but there's a partial truth to it. But the truth makes sense because you're putting something different in your body, and there will be an adjustment period. As I explained earlier, we are discussing things, topics due to the high volume of emails regarding medications. And I do want to cover some of the concerns directly from emails. One is keeping to our minority mental health coverage, and I'd like to address the systemic issue many face with being overly prescribed and underdiagnosed, as well as being overly prescribed and overly diagnosed. That's a tongue twister, right? So some of us experience where we are underdiagnosed but overly prescribed, meaning you may not have an anxiety diagnosis. Maybe you have met with a provider and they've said you have some traits and some symptoms, but you don't have the full diagnosis, but we're going to give you some medication anyway. I would say to question that, to have a conversation, to ask why. Why am I being provided medication instead of going the natural route, like changing my diet or adding supplements that I could be deficient in, right? Have a conversation about those things. Some of us may be overly prescribed and overly diagnosed. So maybe you have a list of like 6 diagnoses and you're prescribed 8 different medications. Okay, it's like, let's calm down, okay, in the therapeutic room. This is a time for you to meet with your provider and to say, okay, listen, I want to go through these diagnoses one by one, understand why they are applied, and see, is there something different even at hand here that we are just not paying attention to have all of these listed. And I'd also like to go over why I have this many medications that I'm taking. What does each one do? Why am I taking it? Is it just matched to a diagnosis, or is it matched to my actual symptoms, right? And again, having that conversation of how long do I need to have this going on? I just need for everyone to remember that your health journey is just that. It's yours. It is your health journey. So you have the right to speak up and to ask your provider, hey, what's going on here? What is happening, right? I'm seeing what I'm seeing in front of me, and I need to be able to move forward. Hey, Alex. So again, you have the right to speak up, speak with your provider, and let them know exactly what you want to move forward with and what you also find suspicious, right? What you feel is not like you, or what shouldn't be there. The bottom line is push forward in what you need to push forward in. My apologies, we're having a little bit of some technical difficulties. Keep going. And the other thing I want for you guys to remember, it just came to mind, is that you have the right to find new providers. So if you don't have someone that's taking the time to listen to you, to explain, and to work to help you grow, also understand that there are other providers that you can see. You are able to say, you know what, I feel unheard, and I feel like you're not heavily engaged in my treatment. So I need to have some references provided, or I'll go out and I'll listen to episode 1 or 2 and find different ways to find a different provider so that I can receive the help that I need. Now, I also understand there are many parents worried about their children struggling with ADHD symptoms and not wanting them to take stimulants. Let me first explain that a stimulant is used to treat ADHD by increasing levels of those neurotransmitters like dopamine, which are important for attention, focus, and impulse control. They can improve concentration, they can improve that attention span, and reduce hyperactivity and impulsiveness. I know your worry, parents, is that a stimulant can become addictive, right? This is true for anyone taking them, child or adult. There are, though, non-stimulant medications that help with ADHD, and these can be requested instead, or at least be requested to try first. Now, I have to be honest with you that the results may take a little longer to get to, but the risk is decreased with non-stimulants. Also, remember that forming a healthy routine and a schedule can help with these symptoms, as well as eating healthier options like that, and decreasing things like sweets, sugary drinks, and frequent snacking, right? So I know that ADHD is one of the concerns of many individuals with their children, because this is one of those diagnoses where you can be overly diagnosed and overly prescribed. So I need for our parents to really dig in, have a lot of questions, seek, find, understand the makeup and things that you can do first with your child. Because remember, we're speaking about children. So when the ADHD diagnosis comes up, we're talking about kids. Kids are going to have fun, be a little wild, be a little hyper, be a little impulsive. That's the point of us raising them and grooming them and helping them become who they need to be, right? So be sure that these symptoms that we're talking about are legitimate symptoms, to the point where, like I said, it's prolonged or there's no improvement. At grade by grade, they're not getting better. It seems like they're still behind with these same behaviors. This is when a conversation about medication should come up. And when it does come up, you are absolutely able to ask for the provider to provide non-stimulants for this diagnosis. Remember to seek the counsel and guidance of your medical team, your psychiatrist and therapist, not Google or ChatGPT. One resource that is reliable outside of your medical team is the National Institute of Mental Health. They have an online booklet that can help, and I do want you guys to know, however, please remember that this is simply general information. Medication is specific to each individual. So you will only know for sure when you form a team for your health and they work together to prescribe what will truly be of help to you. Also remember, with medications, this can be a trial and error process. I can't say that enough. Just as a medical doctor may start someone on a medication and later have to change it due to side effects or a lack of response even, the same goes for psychiatric medications. I know trial and error can be annoying, right? But attempting medications, this is a part of the process, is trial and error. My wellness that I want to provide for you in a last tip, and remember that this is a last tip, okay? It can be a little costly, if I'm being honest with you guys, is something called gene site testing. You can ask a provider to apply this testing to help identify specific medications that will help you. A cheek swab is used to collect your DNA. That sample will be analyzed in the lab. A report is generated, and then it classifies medications into categories based on how well they might work or the dosage requirement adjusted based on your genetic information. So again, I do have to tell you that this is a last resort, and this is not a guarantee. This is a test that can predict how your body may react to specific medications, but it cannot predict the outcome of your treatment. So if the medication will help or not, the test cannot say that. It can simply say, this is, Neena's gene makeup. And according to Neena's gene makeup from this DNA sample that we just took, these certain medications may help her, and she will possibly have the least side effects with these certain medications, right? That's the way that the test works. So it's not saying like, oh, Neena should absolutely take this because this will absolutely work for her. That's not the way it works. But again, it is called gene site testing. You can speak with your provider and ask for this, and that can kind of help eliminate some of the trial and error process. But again, it's not a guarantee. This is just another test that we're trying out. Okay, that is the information that I have for you about medications. I am hoping that you guys still email any questions. If there's something that I've left out, then email me at mentallyhowareyou@gmail.com, and I will provide as much information as I can for you. I will say that some of the emails were specific to specific medications, right? Like the names of medications that individuals are taking. The only reason I'm not specifically naming medication and talking about them is one, because they're not a sponsor, but also two, because I don't want to put a name of a med out there and now everybody's just grabbing on to this title, this phrase, this word, and associated it with, okay, if I have this, I absolutely should take that. I don't want to give out misinformation on this show, and I don't want for you to take one small piece or portion of a segment and then use it for your entire mental health. This journey is very serious, and it has to be handled in that manner. So I'm speaking to the general information here, and I would like for you guys to move forward with this general information and take it to your prescribers, your providers, your counselor, your therapist, and have a discussion based on what you've heard here. But that's my information on medication. Before we leave today, I do want to say, in honor of our 10th episode, you can now listen to our theme song on our YouTube page. Our YouTube page released the entire theme song last night, and we are celebrating today to honor just it being the 10th episode. It's a big deal to me, and I hope it's a big deal to you guys. I'm excited that you guys are joining me. We are going to be here hopefully for another 100 or 1,000 episodes and continue to talk about our mental health. But I want to thank you all for sitting with me on this episode, and it is my hope that you are leaving more stable than when you came in. I'll see you next Friday.
No judgment, just love, so I can be me. I'm tired of hearing it's okay not to be okay. Just want the dark days to go away. Mentally, how are you? How are you? Yeah, I know it's hard, but you can get well if you want to. Mentally, how are you? Yeah, I know it's hard, but you can get well if you want